Kind of things out about Clarence as I'm walking through his office. You know, one of the fabulous under 40. We must be having slim pickings these days, Clarence.
There are fewer of you.
And he's got the book of Samuel open up, Samuel 2. We all need to read that because, you know, that's old David. That prophet went to David and said, hey, by the way, what would you think about a guy that has tremendous flocks of sheep? And there's, you know, he's the richest guy in the world, and there's a guy, you know, he went and took one sheep away, the one lamb away from the farmer down the road. How'd you feel about that? David says, well, I'd put him to death. And the prophet said, well, David, you just did that when you stole Bathsheba. The Bible's important to keep our feet on the ground because we're all knuckleheads just trying to make it through life. I think of that Joan Osborne song, every time we get close to Christmas, we're just slobs on a bus, right? What if Jesus was one of us? Pretty interesting. Anyway, Clarence, is great to see Samuel 2 there, and it's great to be with you. And the great Ron O'Brien is here. I love Ron O'Brien. He's done a fantastic job, and he and I have worked together for many, many years, and if you think he's a good guy, he's nothing compared to his daddy, who's a great guy. Well, listen, it's kind of all in the family for me. Sally Testa ran my congressional operation here in Columbus for 18 years, and she'd come to work on my campaign in 1982, and she did a fantastic job, and I was very proud of the time that I had in public service in the Congress. And one of the things that I think stood out more than anything else was our ability to do constituent services. We were there to help people navigate their way through the labyrinth of the federal government, the state government, the local government. And as I like to say, I worked for Sally for 18 years. And she goes, oh no, I work for you. Let me make it clear. I work for Sally. And so I was really very, very pleased when Joe indicated that he had an interest in doing the Department of Taxation. And the reason why I'm excited about Joe doing this, because you know Joe had left, turned his office over to Clarence, and I thought for sure that Joe was done with public service. But I think he's seeing this as we hope we see, that all Ohioans see it as a new way and a new day to do things. When Joe was both the recorder and the county auditor, he just did a fantastic job. I mean, he has tremendous character, a great work ethic, as honest as the day is long, and he's a reformer. Put all that together, and that just gets me excited that he would be willing to join the team. Because you know we're in a process now of trying to restructure this entire government, to make it modern, to strip out the political considerations that too often get put in the way. And I know that Joe will not do that. And we know that this department needs to be modernized. I mean, there are changes that he and I are talking about, including changes involving the Board of Tax Appeals, which is, I think, 7 years behind in trying to resolve cases. So I guess they're getting better. They might get it down to 6 3/4 years. So we want to be able to speed this up. We want to make sure that local governments get the help they need when they are involved in economic development, including items like TIFs. And of course, we want to simplify this whole system. And Joe will go to work and trying to figure out how we can make this from a tax perspective an easier system to navigate, more efficient, more effective. And he will clearly be involved in helping to advise me on proper incentives for companies that may want to come in here. And he's a creative and imaginative guy, and I think he will bring the State Department of Taxation into the 21st century. And the one thing that we clearly want to do is to make sure that as people pay their taxes, that it is not so complicated that they're spitting fire at the time when they're trying to fill out their tax forms. So a lot of work to do, and could not have a better person who's willing to come into public service again and to be able to stand up and have the integrity, the creativity, and the imagination to make a big difference for the people of the state of Ohio. So it is my pleasure to introduce the next tax commissioner of the state of Ohio, Joe Testa.
Thank you, John. I want to thank, first of all, Governor-elect John Kasich for giving me this opportunity. I also want to thank, also recognize too, Dean Ringel, the best county engineer in the state of Ohio, is here as well. So thank you, Dean, for being here. Also want to thank Clarence Mingo as well. Clarence, for your hospitality, but also for the great service you provide to people of Franklin County. So I appreciate that. I want to introduce my wife, Sally, standing next to Clarence, that John spoke of earlier, and we do know who worked for who. But I do appreciate, and many familiar faces from the Auditor's Office who I worked with for many years. Thank you all for being here as well. You know, John Kasich provided great leadership in Congress, leading the fight for a balanced federal budget when many of the experts said it could not be done. He did what was right for America, even though, again, people were saying in certain quarters that you know, or opposed to a lot of things he was trying to do, or just didn't sit well with certain people. But he knew it was the right thing to do. So he has stepped to the plate again for Ohio, and I am honored to be asked to be a part of this new direction of helping John to take Ohio down the new path that is needed. The years that I spent here in the County Auditor's Office, I learned a lot of things. One of the things that I learned is that there's a critical need for cooperation between state and local government. Many, many ways. County auditors work with the tax department and interface with the tax department every day in many, many ways. We need to work together, particularly when we are asking local officials like county auditors to implement tax policy that is set in place by the state. Sometimes that's an issue, and I intend to work on things like that. I hope to find efficiencies in the Department of Taxation. John alluded to it. As we found here, we made changes here and we improved things here, and I want to find efficiencies here. I want to address state law that's written 100 years ago that couldn't possibly have imagined the technological advances that we have made and the ability to provide additional customer service and reduce costs simultaneously. It's great power there, and I had the great pleasure of being able to work here through those years when the internet was exploding, and we did some pretty interesting things, I think. I want to help the tax department lead the country in public service. I want to find ways to reduce the tax burden that the tax department places on Ohioans. As I'm thinking through this, and Sally and I have been talking about this the last few days, thinking about why do I want to do this. Sally and I have been married 41 years. We moved to Ohio 34 years ago. We're Buckeyes. We raised our sons here. We're helping to raise our 3 beautiful granddaughters here, all Buckeyes. Someday in the future, many years in the future, when they're married and have children of their own, we want our great-grandchildren to be Buckeyes too. And as John Kasich has said, they won't be if there's no jobs. They won't be if this isn't a business-friendly state. They won't be if we're too slow and bureaucratic to deal with the issues of business needs today to provide incentives to build here and grow here. Those are the kinds of things that I want to address. If I can help John Kasich, Mary Taylor, and the rest of this new administration move in that direction, I will clearly be able to answer that question. Why am I doing this? Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll take a few questions if there are any here. Mr. Heath, that's a very nice tie you have on.
I appreciate that.
Good choice in suits.
Very good.
Yeah.
And I'll take a stab at the first question then. When you say reduce tax burden, does that include lifting the final frozen year of the income tax here in the state of Ohio? Is it your plan to unfreeze that final year of that scheduled income tax cut in the state?
And if you want to handle that,
You mean for, well, we have to pass it first, Jim. So, you know, that's going to all be part of that budget. And the decision, we really have, you're talking about whether there's going to be retroactive and whether we would adjust the tables. Is that what you're saying on January 10th? You know, that decision has not been made. I mean, I have to think about that and what the cost of that is going to be. But look, I think that if we pass, if we are going to pass a budget that's going to pass in June, that is in fact going to balance the budget and restore the tax cuts, okay? As to whether that gets retroactive all the way back, we'll have to get back to you on that.